Before a hair transplant, we must perform a detailed hair analysis while examining our patient. What do we look for here? First, we must consider the skin type before the hair itself. Does the patient have dry skin or oily skin, or perhaps they have neutral skin? We must pay attention to these factors. These are extremely important for our success rate after the transplant. Second, we will move on to the hair, of course. Hair density is very important to us. I am referring specifically to the nape area, the donor area. Hair density is very important to us. Hair thickness is very important to us. And when we move from the nape area to the front, that is to the bald area, we must evaluate the extent of the bald area on the scalp. We must specifically evaluate which areas are included in our scalp and hair skin. And of course, we must determine the hair loss types according to the Norwood classification and use this in our transplant planning. We must plan based on the classification. Of course, while determining these, if the patient has hair loss in the front area, we must determine the original hairline. Naturally, our aesthetic plastic surgery identity comes to the very forefront here. When determining a new hairline or locating the existing original hairline, we benefit significantly from all the years of training we have received. We benefit greatly. Especially after we have performed these analyses, after we have determined the original hairline and the hairline that should be there at the moment, we can move on to the transplant application phase for our patient. I get very different questions from my patients. Some of them say, "Doctor, we are going to have a hair transplant. What will happen to our hair loss after the transplant? Will it continue? Will it stop?" I get many questions like that. We cannot say that a hair transplant stops hair loss one-to-one. However, a hair transplant surgery significantly reduces hair loss. The surgery itself without applying additional treatment. I can explain why this is. Especially when we perform a hair transplant by opening microchannels in the bald or sparse area, that is, the channels where we will place those hair follicles. The microtraumas that we apply in any case increase the blood circulation in that region. It boosts microcirculation. So, increased microcirculation, the increase in blood circulation will provide us with very, very serious benefits in terms of reducing hair loss. Of course, another benefit of hair transplant applications will be this. We, in any case, hair transplant, followed by additional treatments based on the patient's condition. Since we will apply additional treatments according to the hair structure, if our patient's hair is sparse and we have done a densification transplant, it will reduce the shedding of existing hair. And in some of them, we can even stop it completely. Therefore, we can state and emphasize that hair transplantation will also be beneficial for our patients in terms of reducing or stopping hair loss. We can say, do transplanted hairs fall out? Here, it is necessary to emphasize this to the patients. A patient's hair has fallen out from the front, including the crown area. What happens? Can the hairs around them fall out? Let them look at the people who have had their hair fallen out. Can they see a person whose nape area has also fallen out? We are lucky in this respect. Why are we lucky? Because we use the nape area as the source region, as the donor field. The hairs in the nape area are more resistant against shedding due to our genetic structure and the hormone receptor relationship. We can even say that it doesn't fall out at all, if we want to be bold. So we take from the nape. When we take these hairs from the donor area and transplant them to the open areas, to the areas where the hair has fallen out, we transplant them with their genetic materials. We transplant them. This genetic material also reduces and prevents hair loss in any case. As a final sentence to summarize, it is necessary to emphasize that transplanted hairs are more resistant against shedding. We can even say that it does not fall out in some patients.